Magandang umaga po sa bawat isa. Welcome po sa aking video. Kaya po sa mga nanonood sa inyo ng video ko, click subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can see my name, Ian Along, or just type tag along with Ian Along. You will see me there. Kaya nga yun. So ngayon araw na ito kasi lagi kong nababasa, napapanood, napapakinggan yung tinatawag na self-love, diba? Lagi sinasabi, diba, nung araw, nung panahon ni Whitney Houston, sabi nila, learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all, diba? Pero alam nyo, kapag kaya sa panahon na, kasi nung araw hindi namang talagang marami nag-object sa ganun, lalo pag mga Christians, no? Lalo mga Christians who mention that the chief end of man is to serve God and glorify God. Ngayon, nauuso, mas mahirap ng tanggapin yung self-love. Madaling tanggapin ang self-love ngayon kasi dahil ang daming mga salbahing tao ngayon. Hindi ko lang alam, hindi, pares lang naman din yata dati, kaya lang nagkataon lang ngayon na marami, naglabasa na sila, natin sila nakita sa social media, kasi may social media na po. Nung araw naman walang social media, kaya ang sinasabi natin, delikado panahon ngayon. Nung araw hindi. Kaya lang naman din naging ganoon, dahil wala, partly because walang social media. So kaya naging gano'n kasi parang wala kasing social media to expose these behaviors. Not only social media but YouTube channel, and there are other channels or even blog that exposes this naging vlog pa nga, vlog and blog na that it exposes bad behavior. So the need for self-love is more pressing now than before. So however, kung iisipin maigi, kung lahat ay puro self-love, anong mangyayari sa atin? Anong mangyayari po sa mundo natin? Anong mangyayari sa lipunang ginagalawan natin? Halimbawa, kailangan ko for my mental health. Walang masama na magkaroon ng mental health. Katunayan nga, kailangan po yun para lalo kang maging mabuti sa ibang tao, so that you can serve others better. Well, kasi para mapagsilbihan mo sila, kailangan you're healthy enough, diba? Pero here's the thing, I will build this up first, slowly but surely. And when it comes to self-love, kaya yung iba, saka ngayon yung mga trabaho ngayon na talagang nagsasabi na talagang demanding yung mga trabaho ngayon. Kaya nga yung iba nagrereklamo, gusto nila ng work-life balance, and it is a form of self-love. Mahalin mo sarili mo kasi kailangan alagaan sarili mo for other people. Now, sa ganung establishment, mukhang maganda ang self-love, puro self-love. Ang problema nga lang kasi ganito, paano kung lahat ay self-love? Lahat ng tao nag-self-love. Lalo yung mga tao na, halimbawa, iwasan mo ang mga toxic na tao, parang ganon. Avoid toxic people. Masama ba yun? Hindi. Pero kung panay ang unfriend mo sa mga taong sa tingin mo ay toxic, sa tingin mo ay toxic, kaya mo sila iiwasan. Lahat ng tao tingin mo ay toxic, kaya iiwasan mo. Ang matitira sa social media account mo ay yung mga taong mag-a-agree lang sa'yo, yung magiging masaya lang sa'yo. So ang mangyayari noon, wala kang view na makikita sa iba. Yan doon pala ako nagpapaumpisa, no? Wala kang makikitang ibang view. So mangyayari, mas magiging wider yung gap mo with the people na misinterpret mo, instead of you bridging the gap. Now, don't get me wrong, no? You don't go to the people. Wag mong ipilit ang sarili mo sa mga taong ayaw sa'yo. Correct. Wag mong ipilit ang sarili mo sa taong ayaw sa'yo. Pero, kapag sinubukan mo na. Kasi pag ang nangyayari sa umpisa pa lang, ayaw sa saan? Sige, wag. Minsan, pakiramdam pa lang, pakiramdam pa lang, feeling ako, ayaw ako nito. So, self-love na lang. Self-love na lang. Oh, hindi ko na ipipilit sarili ko. Mali po 'yon, kasi you need to try first before you can conclude. Hindi po yan science experiment. Hindi po siya science experiment na kung saan kapag halimbawa natutunan mo itong chemical na to ganito, alam mo ang sulfur, pagka umusok sulfur dioxide, o pagka created the smoke, it creates parang sulfur dioxide na pagka nasinghot mo lason yun. Kumbaga alam mo na theoretically yun, alam mo na yung theory, edi iwasan mo na. So yun. Pero pagdating sa dynamics ng human behavior, that's not the case. That's not the case. That's not the case simply because hindi po yan ibang usapan yan. Pagdating po sa tao, as long as you're not being threatened, as long as you are as long as you're still safe and you're not being threatened, you try. Kasi all religions in the world, diba? Yung mga religions in the world, may mga syempre babanggitin, hindi iba dyan persahan but that is another case. Crusades and other religions forcing their religion to other people, but especially those missionaries, okay, let's just put it this way, those missionaries who tried to reach out to far-flung areas, did they win them by force? Although crusades aside, because that's a different story, because there is some sort of because back then there's no separation of church and the state rule on that matter before, but that is another story. Pero there are, more often than not, missionaries go to the place and try to win the people to convert to their faith, to the faith that they have found. So doon po nag-uumpisa yun. Doon nag-uumpisa that they are convinced that these people meant well. They win them by love, even in the midst of persecution. Diba? Now, so does this mean, so okay, because in the midst of the persecution, they try to reach them out still, and that is Christian love, and that is brotherly love or kindness. And this biblical brotherly kindness is not found not grounded in self-love. So that means you need to do not love yourself. It's not what I meant. but more often than not, you need to love yourself a little bit less, if not less. But still, the love is there. Like for example, if you're tired from your work, if you're tired in your civic activities, and there's a time for that, you need to rest so that you can serve other people. So that is what you mean by loving less. Not You're not taking yourself for granted big time, but just one sacrifice, a little sacrifice after the other. Just one little sacrifice, just to prove to them that you are winning them out. Unless you are being threatened already. Recently, I have a neighbor who is a very grouchy person. Who is a very grouchy person. When I greeted that neighbor, pleasant good morning, she shouted at me. Now, shall I try to force myself in and then I will still greet her good morning? In this case, no. So, this also leads me that sometimes people who mention that, okay, avoid toxic people, just self-love. These are people who do not know or decided not to practice discernment anymore, because it takes a heavy amount of discernment if you want to try. There is a certain degree of discernment in order for you to find out if you will still win the person or not. There is that degree of discernment. But because of self-love, because of the advocacy of self-love, people try to avoid people whom they deem as toxic altogether, because they're too lazy, because people nowadays are too lazy, or people who advocated self-knowledge avoided explanations, avoided just avoid being avoid they just avoid being avoid the explanations, avoid the people whom they deem as toxic, without delving much into the context, without delving much into where the person is coming from, without delving much that person, maybe that person, the reason why she shouted at you is because, well, she had a problem. And it takes a lot of discernment. In my case, do I have to reach out to that neighbor again? For now, I don't think so. For now, I don't think so. But people who are much into self-love and to avoid quote-unquote toxic people, they will not do it. They will just cancel the person and they will just kick the person virtually or sometimes physically out of their life without any further explanation. And that's where I'm coming from. The very reason that self-love is dangerous, that the advocacy of self-love is dangerous. Even in the realm of Christianity, there is a thing called self-denial. Now, this is the reason why there are abusive leaders, abusive religious leaders, even in the evangelical and even in the fundamental circle. I'm not talking about the Roman Catholic Church or the Roman Catholic faith. But this is the reason why there are abusive leaders in the evangelical and even especially sadly in the fundamental Christians community, is because they are very much aware of this Christian trait of self-denial, and leaders taking advantage of the kindness and self-denial of other people just for them to have it their way. Now folks, ladies and gentlemen, the problem with that is the leaders themselves do not do self-denial. Those leaders have stopped doing self-denial, and But still, even in the scripture, because the scripture itself mentioned that we mortify ourselves. So meaning we die to ourselves. So we die to our own pride, we die to our own ego. That's why when you're sharing the gospel, when you are trying to be a Christian, there are times that you will deny yourself. Your pride will tell you not to greet this individual because of the past experiences. You will greet them still. Like in the case of my neighbor, I greeted that neighbor a pleasant good morning only to be shouted upon for one reason or another. And then not only that, adding insult to the injury is that I was just left standing without being heard. Man. And for people who advocate self-love, they will say, let it be. In my case, the reason why did you talk to her to begin with? And people who advocate self-love, how you talk to that person to begin with? She's a grouch. She's toxic. But the thing is, I tried. Why? Self-denial. Why? It's the biblical thing to do. Bless them that curse you. Bless and curse not. Now, how about people who underwent abuse? And this is the reason why self-love is a hot commodity. This is the reason why self-love is a hot commodity right now, because of abuses, unaddressed abuses. And this is also my reminder that it's not wrong to love yourself, but it's not wrong to love yourself per se, but as Christians, as a believer, or as a person, there are times that you need to give up your pride, that you need to give up your own ego and pride just to be the better person. I'm not guilt-tripping people. By the way, I'm not guilt-tripping people in doing so, and then other people, and I will not rebuke other people by not doing so. Those who know me, and if you are following my vlog, if you're following my live stream in the past, if you're following my page, Facebook page, you will see my frankness in the matter. You will see my being straightforward in the matter when it comes to people who are being abusive. There is people should, the problem with self-love is because the reason why it is a hot commodity, it is because of abusive people. And abusive people is not addressed. They're not, if I may use the word, they're not being punished for being abusive, even if the law says so. Unfortunately, kaya dumadami ang mahilig sa self-love, hindi dahil sa kasakiman din. Kaya dumadami ang taong mahilig sa self-love ay dahil yung mga taong umaabuso hindi naman din pinagsasabihan man lang, inuunawa pa. So kaya ang self-love, topic na self-love, masyadong mabenta. Pero kung iisipin mo, paano kung lahat self-love? Paano kung sa ibang tao ang self-love, ibig sabihin gusto ko nito kasi self-love so lalabas, hindi na po yan self-love, selfish na po yun. Sa iba, ang self-love ay selfishness na. Mahirap po pumunta sa ganoong sitwasyon. Makakasagi ka na ng ibang tao intentionally dahil gusto ko to, di ba? Bawa ang nangyari Ang iba naman, bawa ang labasan mo alas 5 sa trabaho, o kaya halimbawa ang trabaho mo hanggang alas 5 lang, pero may kasama ka sa trabaho na injured ng around 4:50, katabi mo halimbawa na injured during the line of work, 4:50 binitbit mo, hindi mo bibitbitin kasi sasabihin mo, hindi, tapos na ako out na ako ayan. Bakit? Kasi I'm not paid for this. Self love, ba? I'm not paid to rush a fellow employee to the hospital. Self love, diba? Ganun nangyayari doon. Tapos may mga taong hindi tayo papakinggan kasi self love, we shall not listen to the people because we feel that they are toxic, because that is self love. But what if I tell you that there will come a time that you will have your own share of problems? If that is self love, why you still experience problems? Why? Because it still happens. We are still in this mortal body. We are still in this world, this current world that we are in. And when you say self-love, if your interpretation of self-love is learning to love yourself more, I think that is a problem. I think we should deny ourselves the kindness that revolves around the world. Like for example, you donated a big amount of money. That is a form of self-denial. I don't find it as self-denial. I don't find it noble. And this is the reason why self-love is also another commodity when it comes to money. Like for example, a person had donated, and that person spends effort, energy, time, and even money to donate to some foundation or to a group of kids. Then all of a sudden you'll be approached out of the blue after so many years by the group that ignore you, and then they will mention that December, as a member of this organization or this institution, we wanted to encourage you to have your December gift. Wow. Kaya nagiging uso yung mga self-love na yan. Kasi hindi nakikita ng tao yung kindness mo Ang gusto lang nila kumabig O, diba? So, does that mean self-love is okay? That self-love, the definition of self-love, quote unquote, is okay? No. That example only goes to show that there are abusive people. It's not mutually exclusive. It's not mutually exclusive that you need to avoid the reason why I need to avoid self-love. And the reason why I with self-love is because of abusive people. That is sort of a circular reasoning. There are factors that being abused and self-denial are not enemies. And this is the problem. This is the reason why people should fight abuse. This is why people should fight abuse, especially if you have the power to do so. If you see abuses, you need to rebuke the person who do the abuse, at least. Or if the abuse goes into the criminal level, then those who are in authority to do so should arrest the person who is abusive to the point of being a criminal already. Abusado na pero hindi yun excuse para ka hindi mag self-denial. Self-denial is another story. So, if that is the case, ganito yan eh. If that is the case, iwasan mo yung abusadong tao na yon, pero magbigay ka sa ibang tao naman. Diba? Mahirap, no? Pero kasi, that makes the world a better place. The world becomes a better place not because of healthy people. The world becomes a better place because of people who denied themselves. Just imagine Christians and missionaries, for example, establishing a religion, a religious group or a church in a particular area. They try to win the people. And these people, out of persecution, fear of the unknown, fear of something different, they persecute these missionaries. What if the missionaries retaliate? For example, these missionaries retaliate to the community with their manpower. Definitely there had been conflicts. Definitely there had been bloodshed, and definitely there are gulo, there are chaos. But because of kind-hearted, humble, and meek missionaries, it didn't happen. Definitely you have the responsibility to protect yourself. That is a definite thing. I'm not saying not to protect yourself. It's a strawman argument. It's a strawman argument to say that I'm saying or I'm implying that I'm not for self-protection because I'm not for self-love. Because the context of self-love of those people who said so is not going an extra mile. Again, not because people are abusive, because not all people are abusive. That's the thing also. Hindi lahat ng tao abusado. Ganun ang ginawa sa'yo ng tao na yon. Tapos medyo nakakagulo na siya, iwasan mo. It is a responsibility. It's your responsibility to yourself. But to just think about yourself all the time for the sake of self-love, or not all the time, to continue advocating self-love. Ito pa isa, may mga ibang tao pa. May mga ibang tao. Huwag mo na nang pansinin yung mga kamag-anak ko. Ayoko nang pansinin, lalo sa, hindi ko napapansin lahat ng kamag-anak ko mga toxic. Ayun, hindi na pinikikibo. Diba? O, diba? Self-love daw eh. Ang self-righteous naman natin, no? Siguro naman kasi sa mga relative mo, there are some relatives na you need to try more. Diba? You need to, kailangan mong subukan pa. Para ano, ngayon pag wala talaga, nasubukan mo na tapos naaabala ka, edi wag. Basta nasubukan mo na. Napatunayan mo na, nasubukan mo na you are capable of self-denial. So ikaw naman, ikaw naman. So okay lang yun na you need to take care of yourself. Yun. Pero when it comes to the topic of self-love, because kasi ang daming tao abusado, ganun daming. Tapos saka tuloy, pag lahat ng tao ganyan po, self-love, the world will not be a better place. Hindi ako magbibigay sa donation sa pagkalaki, self-love eh. Hindi ko pagpapasensyahan yung hype na yan, parang gano'n, diba? Self-love eh. Pero mga tao kasi, kaya the world is a better place is because of people who demonstrated self-denial. Ngayon, sa mga abusadong tao naman dyan, sa mga abusadong tao naman dyan, may araw din kayo. May araw din kayo kasi may mga taong mababait na talagang they deny themselves, tapos ganun ang gagawin ninyo. Shame on you. Sabagay, kung wala naman talaga kayong shame, kung wala naman talaga kayong konsensya, hindi na ako magtataka kung bakit may consequence na nangyayari sa buhay ninyo, tapos hindi nyo rin matanggap. So, kasi nga, yun nga eh, hindi porket ang tao di sabihin na dapat magkaroon ng self-denial, ibig sabihin na aabusuhin niyo naman. Hindi naman hindi tama yun. Actually, abuse is wrong. Diba? So, ladies and gentlemen, if you self-denial is a self-love, the advocacy of self-love must be stopped. Individuals must demonstrate a form of self-denial, especially if you're a Christian. You should demonstrate a form of self-denial. It's a form of self-mortification. And at the same time though, it doesn't take away people, and even if there are abusive people nowadays, besides, after all, not all people are abusive. If you want to demonstrate that self-denial, do it to the people, do it to other people. If you experience abuse to that particular person, it is wise to avoid them, so that you can focus on other people and show that you can deny yourself. So that is self-denial. Even if the person is grouchy, for example, if you have the time, go ahead. Maybe you can win that person time in that time. But if the person but if you have tried and time is running out, it is okay to avoid them, because it's your responsibility to take care of yourself. But
approaching a railroad crossing,
avoid them altogether. It is a form of to avoid them altogether. Well, that's not good. To avoid them altogether, that's not good. After all, when you say self-love, when all people demonstrated self-love, the world is not a better place. The world is a selfish place. It's not popular, yes, but think about it, because the better think about it, abuses should be stopped, but at the same time, there should be a form of self-denial. There should be a form of self-denial for people, on people, to demonstrate, to show, because these people who have shown self-denial are the reasons why this world is a better place. This is Ian Along. Thank you very much for allowing yourself to be tag along today.